U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
Being some of your IMs, Comer's THC pharmacist. Sorry, I don't have enough money for an MR mug and a Louder with Crowder mug club sub. Fair dilemma.
I mean, I think Crowder needs some more these days.
Yeah, Crowder really got some real problems. Did you guys ever go through that whole thing with Jared and the?
I thought you did it on a day I wasn't here.
We did do it a little bit.
You think we need mugs? Sell mugs?
Yes. Our logo is perfect for a mug.
I know Streamlab supports a lot of the stuff. We're basically, but you know, so we'll have to look at that. Their competition is StreamYard, but you know, if that's what we look at, and it's got that merch integration, then we can just put pressure on StreamYard to integrate that type of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we went into it.
That seems to be heating up a little bit.
And the way that the logo is with the tablet as well, we could do like stone mugs and have it like etched in as well. That'd be cool.
I think I read that Jared teamed up with somebody to. Oh, I don't know if this is true. Actually, I meant to run this down. I think I saw it in Vegas, and but I read that Jared from Crowd, and somebody fact check me on this. Was getting together with what's his name? He does the not public notice with the public policy.
Matt Brunig
to do an unfair labor practice with the National Labor Relations Board. Now I don't know if that's true. That could have been someone who just wrote in like some type of, or maybe I just had a dream that happened.
Not gay, Jared. If you hear this, buddy, get in touch with Brunig because
that would be
an
exceptional thing to do. I mean, that was the thing that I said when we were playing the clip that was frustrating to me is that, it's not. I mean, I will grant you the Crowder is, evil, good, evil. I don't really use those terms, but if you want to say an evil boss, I would say, yes, that's true. Bingo. There it is. He did do it.
Oh my God.
And this is great. And honestly, because my issue that I took with his statement was that he was making it about like if Crowder was some type of like uniquely bad person. Now, I think it is the case that Crowder is a uniquely bad person. But that this uniquely bad person was in a position to be so abusive is a structural problem. And the way that gets addressed.
My question is, how did this not come out earlier? So that's the real question. If this was going on the whole time, how does it not come out earlier?
Ultimately, is to allow workers to have more power in the workplace. And one of the ways in which you do that is you have an enforcement system, and it would be so wonderful. I don't know how to put this in any other way. So wonderful if Crowder got busted for unfair labor practices and fined.
It would be so beneficial. The educational benefits alone from the messages being sent to Steven Crowder's audience or even adjacent or in the conservative media.
What?
He probably will get busted for unfair labor practices.
Yeah.
Sphere and just the type of content we could make out of it, let alone, what it would mean for the workers themselves.
NDA should be illegal.
No. The one that he did was.
Oh, really? That's funny.
It sounds like, according to Jared, there are other people working at Crowder's outfit that would also, if they found that they were going to have some type of protection, I think that they would have
class action.
Yep. Well, I don't know if they would do it as class action, but they would be more freed to whatever it is that they.
I think the only NDA that we would even look at having would be disclosure of sources, and we would have to have some kind of protection there to, like, have secondary protections for sources. That's the only time I can think that it would be useful.
Want to do that they can't do now. So
well, I want to see Discovery. I also though am curious, like, didn't he bring a lot of those people in from out of state to kind of like work for him, right?
You're saying they're trafficked?
No, not trafficked, but it's just like, I mean, it's just the idea. It's a little bit like the Tim Pool thing where, you get people who want to be in media or who maybe are fans of you and you get them to work for you, and then, I mean, at least in Crowder's case, you're allegedly abusive towards them. There's so many different layers of unequal power dynamics here.
That was my recipe for many years at this program. I mean, not really. I mean, yeah. I did pick on Michael quite a bit on camera, though. It was on camera.
It's funny.
There was no.
Just don't skip Sam saying something funny.
No exposing.
No exposing myself in any way.
That's good to hear.
Not physically or emotionally or in a...
Just go back and listen to what Sam says. It's a good joke because he's talking about Michael Brooks, his old co-host.
Camera though. It was on camera.
Yeah.
There was no
exposing.
No exposing myself in any way.
That's good to hear.
Not physically or emotionally or in any way. I have filed an unfair labor practice charge against Louder with Crowder, writes Matt Brunig. Non-disparagement clauses are illegal. And this is, let me say something. This is, again, this is a function of not just Joe Biden, but the constituencies that Joe Biden had to bring along to win the presidency. And that was...
Somebody interviewed the lawyer representing this guy. And I want to say it was R.M. Brown.
Okay. Look it up.
Oh, well.
Included Bernie's constituency and Elizabeth Warren's constituency. And what you get out of that is they are basically the ones who are talking about who are the personnel that we should be putting into these positions. And, Warren and Sanders and their aides and whatnot, or their affiliated sort of groups have a list. And sometimes, and I think in a couple of these areas, almost all of the names on the list were chosen.
Totally.
And so that's why you actually scroll down here. It is, once we get past the NDA itself.
I mean, it truly is like basically. These are illegal because of the
coward.
Employee when they're not a part.
Go to unfair labor practices. Yeah. The problem with Louder with Crowder's legal assault on Jared is the confidentiality and non-disparagement clauses that they're relying on blatantly violates Section 8A1 of the National Labor Relations Act. And now, I don't think this is a ruling. Again, this is one of those areas, including like antitrust, where the laws are on the books. It's just a question of, do you have the will for enforcement at the National Labor Relations Board? And I get the sense that what Brunig's doing here is basically trying to tee up an opportunity for Abruzzo, the general counsel at the National Labor Relations Board, to basically say, yes, like we don't need to adjudicate these on an individual basis. The fact is that an NDA like this is a unfair labor practice and is illegal.
Yep.
Interesting.
And more recently in 2023, because he was talking about way back, the board analyzed a severance agreement with the following confidentiality non-disparagement clauses. As in Shamrock Foods, scroll up, just want to see when that Shamrock Foods was, 2018. Okay, go down. The board found that both the clauses violated Section 8A1 of the National Labor Relations Act. And now you're starting to see like the NLRB issuing complaints 2024. And so this is an attempt to sort of like expand on these NDAs and that's going to be a problem for some people.
Well,
I wonder who asks people to sign NDAs.
I mean, I think
never.
Yeah, that's
and even your friend who likes to wear funny hats, apparently, I think maybe is he
okay. Okay, so I'm getting the feeling that something is going on right now with Steven Crowder. Like by right now, I mean right now. Like it just happened. Steven Crowder got in some more trouble a few days ago. I didn't cover it because it feels like he's already been pretty washed, like more washed than I've seen a conservative commentator be in quite some time. But apparently some former employees of his have they have input.
Orchestrated.
No, this is the person who's filling in for Crowder right now.
Plan. He's agreement will.
That's a whole thing. That's not the thing. This is a thing. I didn't want to do this. Free Jared Monroe. Free speech matters. Okay, what's happening here? Here's Candace Owens. The entire Third Reich showing up to agree with him against Steven Crowder. Okay.
Enough is enough. This can't go on any longer. And as the famous saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Already insufferable.
So here we go. I'm currently being legally abused and intimidated into silence by a former employer. This has been going on for a while now, and it simply cannot live in darkness for another day. But I am asking for your help
to
fight
pod
back.
save or something like that.
First, some context.
Please.
In late October of 2023,
how many times do you think this guy has seen Crowder's dick? It's reasonable to assume that every employee under Crowder has
probably
seen
touched
his
his
more
face
than his wife ever has.
Surprise, I was served these papers. A cease and desist from my former employer. It threatened severe Legal action in the form of a lawsuit demanded I cease
Good for her.
communications with my friends. The scare tactics of cease and desist are generally to intimidate, isolate, and eventually devastate. Like most cease and desist, it also demanded that I swiftly provide them written certificate of my compliance. I did not. In the same delivery, I was also...
Holy shit, these people are... I already... My context video had way more explanatory value in the first minute. Jesus Christ, can you explain what the fuck is going on?
Served these papers. A Rule 202 petition from my former employer. You can look that up on the internet. I know I had to. These documents were filed with the county court of my former place of employment, demanding that I be subject to an oral deposition under oath for an unlimited amount of time, where they were free to interrogate me on pretty much any private matter that they chose. Also, in this petition for discovery, they demanded that I turn over documents of all communications with more than a dozen of my friends and unlimited amounts of unnamed persons in any form and over an unlimited period of time. I did not. Now, I did not for a few reasons.
Yeah, there's also some funny
one, I have
Candace
seen how
Owens
this
and
employer
Ben
handles
Shapiro
legal
stuff.
Okay.
But
well, we may get bored of the Steven Crowder stuff, so we can.
Well, I mean, no, this is just, it's in that same spectrum, but it's like, it's not funny enough to take extra time.
Oh,
you know.
Okay. Well, send it in the chat, so if I want to like delay the end a little bit, I can put it on.
And
yeah, this is boring as shit. The Steven Crowder divorce drama is exploding right. Oh, it's about divorce, is it? I don't even know, because this guy won't say anything. Jesus Christ. Conservative commentators, my God. The Steven Crowder divorce drama is exploding right-wing Twitter today, where we learned that the court record features a threatening yam sent to Crowder. What? The lawsuit states, shortly after defendant received Crowder's personal address, Crowder received a threatening message. The message, written on a potato, that's a yam, that's a sweet potato, began with, watch it, watch it. This is the same line that Steven used in the leaked home security footage. Well, there you go. So my understanding is that there's a big divorce lawsuit going on right now, and it's happening at the same time that a bunch of Steven Crowder's former employees are coming out against him and saying, oh, he was such and such, he was abusive, he was bad, whatever. Crowder case updates from the very reliable source, H. Pearl Davis, aka Pearly Things, aka, you know, how do I milk an audience and money from a bunch of 14-year-old boys by explaining to them that I'm mid. Crowder case updates. Hillary Crowder is, that's the wife, is receiving $25,000 a month in child support. Okay.
That's probably the funniest way I've ever heard anyone describe her. That's actually hysterical.
Steven Crowder has been covering her legal fees thus far through the child support. That is how money works. Hillary reached out to Steven's friends and coworkers in an attempt to Pearly Things, in an attempt to extort him. Okay. Jared is being sued because he was involving himself in a private divorce in which he was recruited. Okay, this is Jared. Divorce in which he was recruited by Hillary Crowder to assimilate negative PR assets, put pressure on Steven's divorce. Okay, so all of this is about the divorce. Is that it?
I knew that once I opened the door to legal abuse, it would never, ever be shut. This is how they operate. In fact, I'm not the only one who's a current victim. My former employer is exploiting the legal system.
Here's an article that explains this boring ass video. Thank God. Ex-Steven Crowder staffer claims he's being legally abused after quitting toxic and abusive show. Okay. Subjecting him to years of legal abuse after he left the company. Jared Monroe. And on the show Louder with Crowder, known as Not Gay Jared. Decided to quit the show in August 2018, saying I could no longer put myself and my growing family through the toxic and abusive work environment I endured for years. The place was and is to this day a workplace rife with sexual misconduct, degeneracy, and aggression. The things I saw, the things done to me, and the things I witnessed my employer do to others were disgusting, shocking. It's just an absolute prerequisite, you know, for any like working with Steven Crowder. It's all butthole stuff, you know. It's just the amount of closeted homosexual attention being given, you know. Or yeah, was it all cross-dressing? It was just Steven Crowder casually cross-dressing. Shocking, disgusting, utterly indefensible. I have the receipts. Monroe claimed the work environment was so toxic he was admitted to the hospital at one point for a heart condition and was put on anti-anxiety medication. Once the far right finally accepts gays, their disgusting degenerate media juggernaut will be unstoppable. Yeah, it is. Like, it does seem like as more and more, you know, time passes, the far right is being repped by like black, Latinx, queer, cross-dressing, bloody, like the entire... I swear to God, you know, as multiculturalism and forced diversity goes, the right wing is more rife with it than any other political group. It's ridiculous in terms of like disproportionate representation. Leaving wasn't easy. Monroe alleged she was bullied into signing an aggressive separation agreement after a drawn legal fight, which Crowder's lawyers argued he should be blocked from working in media anywhere else in the world for 2 years. Jesus Christ. Eventually, after emptying his personal bank account to pay his legal fees with a pregnant wife at home, he gave in and accepted a deal with Crowder that paid him no money and enforced a non-compete and non-disparagement clause. Then, in October 2023, 5 years after he left, he was served as
the interview that I saw, they were explaining like why this clause is like invalid and stuff, because they were literally the lawyer. Who the fuck was it? I didn't see it on the
Look in your
playlist
history.
either. I tried.
Communication with others.
What
of
if it was
company.
PBS?
While Monroe's non-compete
What if it
expired
was
after 2
PBS?
years, the term of his non-disparagement clause is unlimited. No court would uphold that. An indefinite non-disparagement clause? Are you kidding me? Then come on, no judge would sign off on that. Yeah, that's completely non-enforceable. And I guess the way this is tying into the divorce drama is people are saying that Hillary
speaking of
Crowder, the
PBS.
wife of Steven Crowder, who is suing for divorce, was like reaching out to this
We
guy
might
to,
want to
like,
save
get dirt.
this one till tomorrow, but I figured that if this will make you go on for an hour, this 7-minute video. So, and when I say tomorrow, I
Nope.
obviously mean next stream day.
Yep.
What'd you
Nope,
think
we're
of
not
that
doing that.
headline, though?
Yep. Boy. Fuck me.
Oh, we want my take on it real quick?
Mm.
It's just a bunch of this.
Yeah, it's just talking.
It's
'Cause
just
they're meaningless,
electoral
but
politics points that they're
yes.
going to get to make them look like they're doing something.
Mhm. Instead of actually doing something.
Yeah, like all it is like they're making it so like if you sell firearms, you need a license to do it or
Mhm.
something. That's
Yeah,
really
which is
what
how
it
it
is.
is already, unless it's private to private.
Yeah, so that's the gun show loophole. That's what they're
Uh-huh.
closing, is that those also have to be like, you have to like have a license.
Go
to
through
do
a gun shop? Yeah, like I've been saying should happen, that all sales should be done through a gun
Well,
shop
maybe you'll love
mediator.
this bill then, okay, Mr. Gun Grabber.
It's not, it's just making sure that you're not giving guns to psychopaths.
Okay. The psychopaths are still getting the guns.
Exactly.
That's why we should do nothing and just give them to psychopaths openly and freely. That's such a dumb argument, by the way. The criminals still get the guns regardless. Like, oh,
They
okay,
will.
so why don't we just give them away to more criminals then? You're regulating, people who obey the law. It's like you're making something. They say this, like you're making something illegal based on a bad person, not to people who did nothing wrong. Bro, murder is also illegal.
I think that's more of a moral. I think that's more of a moral thing.
Saying, like, yes, things are made illegal because someone does something. Correct, bro. That's how it works. Somebody has to do something first, and then a law gets passed. But it's just like that's. It's like the dumbest argument to make is be like, you're punishing the people who don't commit murders. Okay, by making murder illegal.
It's no, I disagree because it's.
I'm exaggerating the issue.
I know, but guns are like it's like banning hammers because someone used a hammer to kill 10 people in a shopping center.
Bro, Britain does that shit.
Yeah, and Britain's retarded. Do we really want to follow what fucking Britain does?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that I approved of it.
Or whatever. In October,
Fucking the country where carrying a butter knife will get you thrown in jail. Yeah, let's follow that country.
his company sued his estranged wife, Hillary Crowder, for tortious interference after his family accused of mentally and emotionally abusive behavior in a statement to the journalist Yashar Ali. Suing your estranged wife. That is crazy. I love family values. Tortious? Is that it? Tortious? Okay, tortious. I'm not familiar with that word. Tort law. Gonna be honest, I don't know what tort law is. Heard of it? Don't know how it's
Conan
different from
O'Brien
regular
was
law.
on Hot Ones, and it was really funny.
Who?
Conan O'Brien.
He
did the Hot Ones show where they eat the wings.
I haven't watched that for a while. There's some good
Yeah,
ones that I've seen that
it was funny.
What is tort law? Civil suits with the exception of disputes involving contracts.
It measures
that's it?
the
I thought it would be more like
size of
out there.
tortillas and how you regulate them based on size. What is a street taco?
A taco that's been dropped on the street?
No, a street taco, you can get 3 street taco shells out of 1 standard tortilla. You cut the street taco tortilla shells out of the standard tortilla.
Okay.
And then raise the price on them. Right? But they're always the best.
Get a hot dog for $1.
They're soft tacos, they put a skewer through them, right? But
keep them
really,
together.
it's just they took access tortilla away, right? Because you cut 3 out of them. There's a lot of wasted space there, right?
Yes.
Well, that still gets eaten in the food cost because tortillas aren't like expensive anyway, but you're just getting less food as the customer. They could just put all the ingredients in a simple tortilla
And
that
charge
is the
more.
correct size
Yeah.
and just no, I mean, but no, they have to make it artisan.
Yeah. It's like pubs in Australia putting the fucking chicken parmas on top of the chips. Fuck you. Put it separate. I don't want my chips soggy. Fuck yourself. You're a pub. You're not a
fuck
fucking
is
5-star
wrong with
restaurant.
them? Why would you do that?
Yeah, because they're trying to artsy fartsy fancy themselves up. And I'm just like, fuck off, you're a pub. Get me a beer and put my fucking
I'm
parma
gonna
and chips
fart
separately.
on this entree. I'll show you artsy
Fuck off.
fartsy. I'm gonna fucking take a dump on this entree.
Just wankers. You're a fucking pub. Why do I not hear that more often? We talk about civil suits all the time. Okay, all right. It sounds so like old-timey and British, yeah. Tort is in retort. Oh, that makes retort like you've been wronged, so civilly you retort through tort. Okay, maybe that's where it comes from, or maybe not. I don't know. This is the Rule 202 petition thing. It's a Texas thing. Petition the court to order authorized to take the position or examination of testimonies. Okay, well, I'm sure that I speak for everyone watching when I say that somehow this guy is the lesser evil right now, and all luck to him and to Hillary Crowder in their respective legal action and suits and everything of the sort, because it seems pretty bad. I mean, I'm sure this guy is also a Hitlerite. For all we know, the only reason he resigned was because Steven Crowder was abusive and kept making him like lick his cockhead or something. And he might be his own Hitler. In fact, he probably is, considering he said degenerate stuff went down at the workplace, which is not a word that I would use if I was trying to appeal to like a broad, nonpartisan base of support when going against Steven Crowder. Not the language I would go for. Also, he's being supported here by Ashley St. Clair, Candace Owens, and Lauren Southern. This is the guy who got teabagged, I think, by Crowder. Did cons laugh at the male sexual abuse victims Crowder? Dude, cons don't give a fuck about anything. Steven Crowder is literally like a cross-dressing closet homosexual. All right, let's see what Chunk has to say.
Enough is enough.
Cool.
This can't go on any longer. And as the famous
Loud
saying
noises.
goes, sunlight is the best
Oh, it's
disinfectant.
Anna.
So here we go. I wasn't about to put my family embarking upon a journey down that road.
That gentleman you just heard from was Jared Metello, a former employee of Steven Crowder's, who also goes by Jared Monroe or Not Gay Jared.
You can call me
Now,
whatever
earlier
the
this week,
fuck you
he
want.
released a
At this
video
point, I don't
accusing
give
his
a
former
shit,
employer
Jared,
of fostering a toxic and abusive work environment. While Monroe never specifically named Crowder in the video, he worked for the conservative host between 2014 and 2018, and it's obvious that's who he's talking about. Monroe alleges that Crowder has subjected
Legit
What?
worst Amazon product that they have. It's the worst. Twitch is awful.
him to years of legal abuse following his departure from the company. And as a result, he's now soliciting donations in order to pay his legal bills and prevent the financial ruin of his family. Let's hear from him and more of what he has to say.
I voluntarily left my job after deciding I can no longer put myself or my growing family through the
We already heard this.
prior to my employment there and have never been treated for it since.
Monroe says he basically says that the situation at work was so terrible that he decided to resign while his wife was pregnant. That's how bad it was. He says that he knew he couldn't stay with the company, but Crowder didn't make it easy for him to leave either. Monroe alleged that he was bullied into signing an aggressive separation agreement after a drawn-out legal fight in which Crowder's lawyers argued he should be blocked from working in media anywhere in the world for 2 years, have his personal Twitter account seized, and turn over all his personal production equipment that he paid for himself. Monroe explained.
This is honestly not insane. The amount of times I've had to do shit like that.
Seriously?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Like,
I'd tell him to get fucked.
That or get blacklisted.
Fuck him. I'd do it myself.
I mean, I'm trying to now. How's it going?
Pretty well.
Could be better.
Could be.
That he eventually gave
Gates,
into
cough
Crowder's
up more
demands
of your
because
hard-earned dollars.
Or more time. I need money so I can
I'm
put
just
more
trying to
time.
figure out like
That's the issue.
where
Is I
this
need to be able
interview
to put
is
more
that
time.
I definitely saw.
Like
Somebody
that's the issue. Like the stream is one thing, but like I just more time. Money. Don't take out loans, everybody. Don't do it. It's not a good idea.
It might
not doing so would rack up more legal.
It might be the Sam Cedar link I sent. But that might be in about what I saw.
legal fees. He claims he eventually accepted a deal with Crowder that paid him no money and enforced a non-compete and non-disparagement clause. But it didn't end there.
The primary reason I signed the NDA was for a small carve-out in the non-compete clause, which allowed me to freely seek employment using some of my skill sets at another specific company.
Oh my God. Are you ready for this? Look at what they put at the end of this clip.
Media don't give you honest news.
You motherfuckers.
Yeah, they put it in, it's their mid-roll in every one now.
A lot of mainstream media don't give you
that straight from it.
Look at us. Do it. Go below and click join now. See how Chunk's telling you with all the arrows? He couldn't have any more arrows on the screen. Go press subscribe. Make sure you like and comment on this too. Everyone, you go leave a comment on the YouTube right now and like it and then press the share button and share it through a feed and do that because that would be nice.
Thanks.
With Crowder, he was served.
Like, tell us in the comment why you think Crowder is a douchebag. That's what we need to do more. Is we need to do the comment machine stuff.
Comment bait.
Yeah, it's like, tell me what your favorite gun in Helldivers 2 is below.
Another cease and desist, which threatened legal action if he did not immediately cease all communications with others about the company. In addition to that, Monroe was also served a Rule 202 petition, which demanded he be subjected to a deposition under oath in which lawyers could question him about his communications, as well as hand over documents of any and all communications about the company. Now, why did this happen 5 years after he quit? If you notice the timeline, the cease and desist came right after the initial allegations of bullying, inappropriate drug use, and lewd sexual workplace misconduct at Louder with Crowder. And it came to light, which we of course covered here at TYT. Steven Crowder allegedly created an incredibly inappropriate and hostile workplace where he exposed his genitals to employees and openly exchanged drugs. Now, Mediaite spoke to 5 individuals, former staffers.
The drug part, not the penis part.
Of Steven Crowder's, they are anonymous. They are not named
Normalize
in the piece.
selling your boss
There's also
drugs
one
to get leverage over him.
Anonymous source close to Crowder.
What your boss likes, right? You figure that out first. You have to be like, hey, just a little Coke or something. You just drink. What do you know? You'll find out. Once you know. Like we had this fucking the guy who like owns all the like restaurants that I worked at. Like it's like a localized chain, but they're huge. Big money. They have a lot of different restaurants that they manage in New York. But the guy who I was his specific kitchen, because it's a whole family, right? A whole Italian family where they parse out the restaurants.
Yeah.
He was a huge cokehead. He was always coming in high on coke, and he's like, he never had to. He would come in like once a month or so, just to be like, I'm the big boss. Bow to me. You know how they do that? Like the big manager's coming. The big. I'm gonna work how I work every fucking day. And that's and if he thinks it's not good enough, it's a reflection of you, not me, because you are the one who employed me and hired me. So if he doesn't like it, it's a problem with you. And I when he comes in, I go, hey, you want to see what your fucking employees are hiding from you? There's a hole in the floor back here. I show him all the shit. Just be like, we have tons of slips and dish. All this, I'll tell him all the shit that was going on, right? But I also knew he did cocaine.
Yeah.
And
so
I
you're
knew
like,
other people did cocaine.
into a bump after you tell him everything, he's like, you want to do some coke? Yeah, I told you all of that, but keep me. I want to be the manager. Make me the manager.
Yeah.
Now, one of those former employees actually showed Mediaite the unsolicited and sexually explicit text messages he received from Crowder, including images of Crowder's genitalia. Yeah, that report came out in July of 2023, and after.
Dude, what? Imagine getting a dick pic from your boss and not quitting.
Yeah, and like, you remember one time I fell asleep on my phone and sent a bunch of random shit. I was like, thank God there was no dick pics at the top. You remember that? It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like I was asleep on my phone because of the body heat. It just kept on registering inputs. I sent a bunch of shit on Instagram to people from my photos of all things.
Afterward, Crowder went on a warpath. After that report, sources told Mediaite that Crowder sought to crack down on leaks to media outlets. He sent draconian non-disclosure agreements to his current staff with a $100,000 breach of contract penalty.
What the
Monroe has refused to comply with the current cease and desist and Rule 202 petition. However, last week, Crowder's demand for Monroe's deposition and cooperation in handing over the documents was awarded by the court.
Wait, why am I a cuck now? What did I do?
No, not you.
No, they said the real cuck is John. Where did I see that?
That's funny.
Real cuck was John all along. What did I do?
Which is why Monroe is now raising money for his legal battle. Monroe says that money is also meant to help him pay for his countersuit against Crowder to release him from.
It's very strange. I don't understand.
Because you gave your stuff back to the employer. That was to gain leverage. Cucks don't have leverage. Because of the contracts for camera stuff. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Like stuff that you paid for.
Yeah, like your work computer that comes out of your fucking pay. Yeah, the fucking industry is so exploitive. That's why that's why I'm glad it's fucking dying.
Yeah.
Like the fact that working in kitchens was like the less stressful job that I would do on the side should tell you a lot.
Yes.
Like here I am, Hassan, streaming's the hardest job. No, it's just like so fucking exploitive. And like really like we need the protections like SAG has.
Well, we could fucking spearhead the union. Fuck it. We'll start the union too.
There's plenty of unions. We just need to bring them together like SAG is.
Yeah, we'll be the union of unions.
His non-disclosure agreement. One former Louder with Crowder employee told Mediaite, quote, Jared isn't a rich man. He knows Stephen has millions of dollars and an army of lawyers. Stephen is extremely vindictive and always looks for any opportunity to get back at anyone he feels has wronged him. Even just leaving the show he views as a huge betrayal. Jared is basically faced with an abusive ex-boss who wants to make his life a living.
And have had to do these things as well, where I've had to tell them that they need to give shit back, they need to do this, they need to do that. Like some of these fucking companies are fucking dirty. They're dirty, dirty capitalist companies.
Yeah, fuck them. We're gonna take them down. Fuck them. And these practices need to end. Like it's just fucked.
Hell,
because it's like it's extracting wage and then it's taking that back at the end. It's literal wage theft. Like making you pay for shit and then having them give it back to you. That's literal wage theft.
Yeah, well, the thing is like the wage theft also in the industry, it takes place like so openly. Like BuzzFeed was notorious for this shit.
Where they wouldn't like pay for flights or anything.
No, they wouldn't pay people in general and made them work full-time hours as volunteers. And if they didn't, then they would lose their like status or whatever. So these yeah, it was awful. It was awful. Worst time.
What a joke.
Yeah.
Glad it's over. Fuck those people.
And has the funds to do so.
They came increasingly harder to fucking deal with a straight face the more people I've seen die.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about fucking human beings. That's the issue too.
The reaction to Monroe from both sides of the political spectrum have been supportive. There are a few examples of people not being supportive, but to be fair, Crowder has a lot of enemies, including former Daily Wire host Candace Owens, who tweeted in response to Monroe's video, "Wait till they find out what he's been doing to his wife. I never edited my opinion on Steven Crowder because I knew that everything would eventually be revealed. This really is going to be a year of revelations." All right, I guess hold on to your butts for that. Owens also apparently donated to his legal fund, and as of this morning, Monroe reached 80% of his fundraising goal. And just to address—
Great. Let's move on.
I think Sam Cedar is with the actual guy who's an expert this one, I think.
Sam Cedar, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the program Mark Bankston. He is a partner at the law firm of Farrar and Ball. And Mark, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. You seem like you're extremely busy this week.
Yeah, I've had a pretty busy week this week, that's for sure.
All right. Now, I know you can't really talk too much about this, but just broadly, what has been reported at the very least, or what can you just tell us about this case involving Elon Musk?
Well, I can tell you that, the court ordered discovery in that case. We ended up taking his deposition, as a lot of people have seen. There is some pending sanctions in that case, and we're also going to have a hearing on the motion to dismiss on April 22nd.
And what is the case about? Like, what is your client claiming?
This one is strange. It really is. To even think of the idea that one of the richest and most influential people on the planet accused a 22-year-old Jewish college student of being a neo-Nazi involved in a neo-Nazi brawl in Portland, Oregon.
No. Okay. So I think if you want, I think the Tech News Daily guys, they have reported on this. They've followed the story a lot. So basically, there was this, you know how they just associate people who are never part of stuff? Like, this is the same person, like how Russia did with this terrorist and tried to associate it with like Abdul Hakim. So he did that with like a Jewish guy because these two nationalist groups got like in a brawl, right? And they hate each other. One is like Rose City nationalists, and the other one is like fascist something, whatever, right? And so they said this guy who has not been involved was one of the guys associated with this other nationalist group. So one nationalist group is spreading propaganda to hurt another nationalist group. And it was elevated by none other than Elon Musk, who is the one who helped make the association. And the post still remains uncommunity noted, even though he says, I tagged community notes in it for the fact checking. Why is it still there? And the theory is that it's also still there is because it's been depositioned. And the Tech News guys, if you want to see more about this Elon Musk shit, you should definitely go to the Tech News Daily guys, because they read out some of the transcripts on like how contradictory Elon Musk is, and like how he totally understands that what he's doing is anti-Semitic.
That's awesome.
It's very funny.
Which is completely absurd and was based on some very dubious tweets from some anonymous weirdos on Twitter. And Mr. Musk decided to spread that to the world. And Ben Brody's not going to let that happen.
Great. And I appreciate your catching us up with that. You know, at one point it's the I don't know if the word is irony, but it is fascinating to watch this guy who bought Twitter essentially made it possible to almost make it impossible to use Twitter as a source to validate things, keeps getting tripped up by essentially what he wrought on himself.
That's true.
By making Twitter a much less reliable source of information that he spreads. I find somewhat fascinating. But you've got a lot of stuff on your plate in terms of like false information. I mentioned before you came on that you are representing a plaintiff, Mauricio Garcia, in a case. Tell us about that case.
Sure. Most of y'all remember during last summer, there was a neo-Nazi shooter down in Allen, Texas at the outlet malls. Killed quite a few people down there. It was a really, really nasty event. In the aftermath of that, the law enforcement released the name of the shooter and his date of birth. But several media organizations...
Oh, I'm so glad this is included. This is great.
Sort of in their haste to try to get a story out.
This is not what I wanted to send, but this is great.
This is awesome.
I don't know who the lawyer I saw talking on behalf of this guy was.
At this point, it doesn't matter.
I swear it was R.M. Brown.
Not even the right birthday of my client, Mauricio Garcia, put his face out to the world. And for a lot of these organizations, it was because my client...
Because this is a long one. We might be pausing a lot. We'll end on this one.
What was the other one I sent?
Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens.
Oh, yeah. I said that's an extra shit. I think that's the only other stuff, though. It's that and this? Okay.
Yeah.
It has a very Chicano appearance. He's a Dallas lowrider, and he does not look like the kind of Mexican American who would sympathize with white supremacy. And so a lot of these right-wing organizations want to put his face out there to say, hey, look at this Mexican guy. He's not a Nazi. Look at this guy. And as a result, I mean, millions of people saw my client as a monster. And this was done by a big variety of news organizations, including Fox News, Newsmax, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, Owen Schroyer, Hollywood Unlocked, Simon Ateba, and Today News Africa. I mean, we have a large group of defendants who all basically, ignored basic journalistic precautions. And as a result,
Guess what else Tim Pool did? He got his employees to run defense for his own company for his own fuck up. Fucking the redheaded libertarian was out there running defense for this fucking Nazi fuck for weeks. Literal weeks. I hope they all get taken down. This is going to be fucking excellent. I'm so excited.
To be a lawyer that goes after journalists like this.
They're not journalists. What are you talking about?
I know. And this is what I said earlier. Is like somebody was saying like games journalism is the lowest form of journalism. And I'm like, I don't think games journalism is real.
No,
I think
blogging.
because of well, no, I don't. That's not my issue with it. My issue is how access is curated. You know,
'cause
you have to suck dick for
yes.
access. It's not journalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Matt Taibbi getting handed the
what,
Twitter files, not
yeah,
journalism.
what's it called? What's it actually? It's got a specific name.
I mean,
Access
it's like
journalism is what
yeah,
it's
it's
called.
access journalism. It could be reporting.
Mm.
You know, and reporters are not journalists, to be clear.
Yeah.
This poor young man, you know, his mom was getting calls from people they've known all their lives saying, "Hey, I'm so sorry about your son. I'm so sorry your son is a neo-Nazi killer."
Oh my
and
God.
you know, his mom could correct some of those when they call, but that family's just sitting there thinking about all the people in their lives who have known them throughout their lives, who aren't going to call, who will be too embarrassed to ever call. And you know, it has torn this poor kid up. He just feels so guilty about what it's done to the family.
And do you know where the conflation of your client with the actual neo-Nazi shooter originated from? What,
it was on social media, and it looks to be on Twitter. Is where it first started.
Gotcha.
And then, you know, it was originally just social media people getting it wrong, right? Having the wrong identity. And then it was
wasn't us. We did not get a single thing wrong in this entire thing. We posted pretty much the entire time it was happening, and then we deep dived by ourselves for like 4.5 hours into this fucking weirdo's like psycho Russian social media posts as soon as it came up. Guy's a nutbag.
Well, then also most of that journal was handwritten as well. We didn't look at any of the handwritten stuff because I have no time for that.
Yes,
but you could see in the video he posted to YouTube, right? Because he posted one that linked to this social media, and Elon Musk is like, Bellingcat found it. You know, they've read psyops, and it's like, bro, he posted the website to YouTube. You fucking idiot. Anyway, so in that video, you can see like all these notebooks and shit, you know, there's like photos of inside his house and stuff, and there's these notebooks all over. So like the dude would just fucking write journals all day.
Yeah, like they really fucked up. I'm so glad this is coming back to bite them in the ass, because this is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly what we were talking about while we were doing this, while we were looking at all this. I was on Twitter watching them fucking spread disinformation about it. You can probably still find it.
Just so Tim Pool wouldn't be associated with him.
Yeah, all because they didn't want Tim to be associated with it. So he got his employees to run defense for a Nazi. Fucking what crazy.
These commercial media organizations who are expected to have institutional guardrails against this sort of stuff. I mean, photo verification is not a challenging thing to do as a journalist. If you can't confirm the provenance of a picture and know what it is and where it came from, you just can't put that out to the world, especially if you're going to try to say it depicts a neo-Nazi mass murderer. And so really, you know, there's not much we can do about just random people on social media, but these commercial enterprises that are profiting from the provision of news, they have to use reasonable care. And what we've seen is that the bigger organizations, like in this case, Fox and Univision, they've just done away with their institutional guardrails because it's just costing them too much money. And then you have these new, you know, people like Crowder and Poole who are running these low-cost operations who never cared about the institutional guardrails to begin with. So the entire media apparatus is failing from top to bottom. This isn't a problem that's just isolated to one kind of media.
You want to know how you fix this? It's $1.
Supporting the cucks.
$1. We're going to register, we're going to get the nonprofit set up, and we're going to do exactly what he's talking about. We're going to fix the industry. We're going to support actual journalists. We're going to support real people. No cucks. Gimps only.
I'm fine with cucks. It's just not my thing. I mean, I've done like, you know, I fucked cop wives in front of them before for money, but you know.
It makes me think of Spotify and some of the sort of lies that come out of Rogan's show. He's smart enough not to maybe have these lies focused on one person enough so that somebody could bring an action. It's sort of just like, you know, who has standing in these issues in terms of like Spotify having to take responsibility for these things. But the thing that really stuck out for me
I cannot get behind this argument for Joe Rogan, because if you're listening to Joe Rogan and taking advice
Well, he's
from
just saying
Joe
that
Rogan's
it's
podcast.
different with Joe Rogan because he's just general and talking out his ass. Tim Pool is being
And
malicious.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying, and this is why I can never get on board with these Joe Rogan narratives. Like, the guy's just a dude talking to people.
I could never,
care.
I couldn't do it now, regardless. I just, like my antidepressants don't have me like the performance that I was before.
Yeah.
But like, without the money there, like it's not like the wives were hot. The cops' wives that I was fucking. It's not like they were cops' wives. But like, it's weird. Like even if I'm getting money for it, it was still weird. Like never want to be in that scenario. I mean, if they're paying me, I'm definitely down for it, but I'm not gonna like actively like do full contact sex work again. I'm
$20 is $20.
Bro, I am retired from that industry. I paid for a few semesters, and that was it.
It does what it does.
Reading your the plaintiff's petition is in each of these instances, it seems, and I think I read all of the defendants. The outlet, I mean, because we get stuff wrong here. We're very cautious about putting pictures out. I don't know if we ever do that, really, frankly. But we get stuff wrong, a variety of things. I mean, we're really careful with that.
You know what we'll never do? We'll never misidentify a shooter because we'll never put their photos up. So I can guarantee that we will never misidentify a shooter because we don't give a fuck about them. Fuck those cunts.
Identities, I have to say.
They can rot in the dirt. They don't deserve notoriety. They don't deserve their name out there. They don't deserve their.
I don't
photo.
even remember this Allen shooter's name. Nobody does.
No, good. That's how it should be. All I remember is he got domed out the front of a burger joint and he was fat, and that was funny.
But be that as it may, people make mistakes. But in each of these instances, it seems like there was an opportunity for these outlets to correct themselves, and they didn't.
Yeah,
and they didn't, or to the extent that they even did any effort, they never did a retraction.
But you know what the difference was between that shooter and other ones? That one, he was mocked a lot. That's the difference. There was a lot of mockery. Also, you remember the kid that did the attempted school shooting got dumpstered by the fat guy with the pistol from like 35 yards away?
That was the mall.
Shopping center. Yeah, the shopping center. Yeah. Don't remember that kid's name either because he got fucked up and he got mocked into oblivion. That's how you defeat these mimetic mass shooters. If they get mocked and forgotten, they're probably not going to do it because that's what they're doing it for. A lot of them, like a lot of the school shooters, I seriously believe that it's like a notoriety thing. The mimetic ones, a notoriety thing because it's the gamification of shootings, right? It's
my resolution:
name in
airstrikes, bomb them, keep bombing them, bomb
Ninja
them
missile.
again and again.
But it's like, it's notoriety. It's their name in lights. It's their kill count. It's the gun they used. It's all of this stuff adds to this mysticism of a mass shooter. It shouldn't be something people are scared of. It should be something that is mocked. This idea that you're going to go and take people's lives because you're some depressed, pathetic loser. Fuck yourself. Like, they just should be mocked into oblivion. But, people need to sell papers and politicians need to stay in office, so that'll never happen.
Right. Most
that
of them just
really strikes me as like almost like doubly bad.
It is. And in Texas, it's bizarre because if they had just apologized and issued a retraction, they wouldn't face punitive damages. But they all made the decision in this case not to apologize for certain broadcasts. And, in some of those, it makes sense. Some of them, are just not going to respond to you. Some of them did, and we had discussions, and they deleted the articles quietly, but didn't put retractions. Or you have in the case of Univision, who, when we went to them, they originally just told us, oh, we just did it on our streaming service. And, nobody really watches that. And then we found out, no, the whole time they had been broadcasting it to millions of people on their primetime shows and didn't print a retraction for any of that. It really is strange. And what was really strange is that most of these defendants were represented by counsel when we were talking to them. The only one that wasn't was Tim Pool, who thought that he could negotiate with me without an attorney.
Oh my gosh!
He didn't put a retraction either.
Well, I want to hear about Tim Pool, Mark. But I mean, Tim is also very specific. Like his issue here is that the actual shooter, and this is what when I went there and I was talking to him about it, this is what got him very upset. I pointed out that he had called it a psyop, a psychological operation, because the actual shooter had been posting about his show, right? And so there's also a self-interest here in misidentifying the person, your client, as the shooter versus the neo-Nazi.
I said this. I already said this. I did this before you, bitch. Fucking
shooter who had posted about Tim's show before.
Absolutely. Well, it's like I had pled in the Musk suit, is that if you're a right-wing extremist tastemaker these days, you face the problem of how do you react to the more embarrassing public incidents involving some of your extremist fan base. And in the post-truth world, the easiest solution is just to deny that they're real. They're fabricated boogeyman by left-wing interests or something like that. And it's the same formula here. Even in this case, Elon Musk was talking about psyops and the whole thing. And that's what makes this more damaging, is that if you have people like Poole and Crowder telling their extremist audiences that this is fake, right, he's not a neo-Nazi, then if they see later legitimate news that shows the real identity of the shooter, they're not likely to believe it.
Hey,
it becomes very difficult to remedy this problem.
That in part, I want to read some from the Poole thing in this filing, but that part which you just touched on, the idea that they are actively, in the context of these, obviously, this isn't actionable from you, but I wonder how much does that aspect of it enhance their culpability or their liability within their case? The idea that they are not only making a mistake, the idea that they are also not issuing a retraction, but then are actually building in an excuse or an alibi for themselves in a more general standpoint, in that, like, if you hear that we're wrong, understand that is part of a big operation that is supposed to smear us. So they're building in their alibi. Does that implicate your case?
What?
Nothing. I lagged out for a second, so I couldn't. So I was just sitting here going, "I'm gone. I'm frozen."
Show intent, or does it show? Is it more punitive? Are there more punitive damages? Or is that just like what does that show in the context of your case?
Really, where it comes into play is the damages that the client suffers, right? Because if there's a defamation out there, then one of his ways to do that is either through self-help or through corrective media for people getting it right. And if you have an organization that's actively undermining those efforts, that is saying, don't believe what you see on these mainstream networks, we're the ones telling you the real truth, then when that truth gets out, it's less likely to hit people's opinions. So the actual reputation.
My favorite politician has something to tell you about us.
We will continue to be your single source of truth. Dismiss anything else.
One every episode.
Reputational damage to my client is somewhat hindered by what you're exactly talking about, this built-in escape hatch, that if they're wrong, when they're corrected, they can just say, well, that's the fake news. Don't worry about them.
It makes the defamation that much more durable. And so it increases the damages that your client's suffering, because they can never recover in some ways because of other things that these guys have done. That's fascinating.
I mean, look, it's the same in the Sandy Hook case. To this day, no matter how much the volume of reporting that this really happened, there are still people who are absolutely stuck in drinking that Kool-Aid of thinking anything mainstream media tells them is wrong. So it really poses a challenge for these kinds of people who've been hurt by this.
This stuck out for me in the Tim Pool because, and we should just say, when people are looking at this at the original petition, and you can get this online, right? This is available online.
That's a public document.
And and you have it for each one of the defendants here. This is paragraph 84 if people want to follow along at home.
And I'll just go ahead and say, if you need to grab a copy of the petition, Huffington Post has put one up. So Sebastian Murdoch did a story on it today.
And feel free to post this on social.
Huffington Post still exists? What the fuck?
Not the best source.
Media folks. I know the folks, the defendants love the publicity. 84. Poole also claimed on Timcast IRL that he did not want to show the social media photos. Okay, so this is to be clear. Somebody, there was a second sort of like release of photos of the actual guy who perpetrated this, not your client. That was released subsequently on a different site. And this is where Tim Poole decides to act responsibly. This is what's fascinating about this. He's already shown the picture of your client. It's already out there. And then the actual picture surfaces. And Poole claims on Timcast that he did not want to show the social media photos, quote, considering the sensitive nature of these things. So he's already shown the false pictures. And then when the real pictures show up, he doesn't want to show them because it's sensitive. And thus did not show any of the pictures of the photos of the real shooter. Poole also chided Bellingcat researcher Eric Toller, who published the real shooter's social media profile and photos, claiming that Toller didn't verify it. Now remember, Poole has already shown the unverified photos of the
by the way, while John was deep diving that social media, I was geolocating all the things that he was posting about. Yeah, it's definitely not fake. So yeah. We were literally able to track pretty much like his day-to-day activities, where he would be, like where he was around, where he hung out, and what he did. Like
when he moved, where he worked.
Yeah. Like it was very detailed. Tim didn't do the work, is what happened.
Shooter, but is now attacking someone for showing. And this is all this does is makes it harder for your client to recapture his reputation. All of this just makes it like a steeper climb to get back to whole or even close to it. And yet at the time Poole made these comments, Timcast Media Group had already published a completely different, unverified and incorrect photo of the plaintiff on its website. And then in addition, Timcast news reporter Josie Glabach, known on Twitter as the Red-Headed Libertarian, posted several tweets declaring that the event was a psyop.
Yeah.
So that
See how fucking ahead of this I am? I tracked all of this shit as it was happening. This is how ahead I am. You released this 5 hours ago. This is an old story for me.
none of this happened. So they have now blamed it on the wrong person,
Maybe if more
and
than
then said that
100
none of it
people followed
happened.
me, maybe people would realize. But I guess not. But also,
I don't give a fuck because Twitter's not a real place.
And that Eric Toller was a CIA operative. Does Toller maybe Toller has an action? Each of the tweets garnered an enthusiastic reply from Elon Musk. So this guy's just like, you bump into Elon Musk all the time now, as soon as you're doing the research.
We got to keep meeting like this, yeah.
In the following days, Musk repeatedly claimed the event was a psyop and the mainstream reporting on the shooter's identity was a lie. And then Poole continued to promote the idea the shooting was a government conspiracy. So that's all basically just like, you think you're going to get your reputation back in the future? Here's my alibi, and it's going to make it harder for you to get that reputation back. And then Poole, according to this, quietly did take down the pictures, but never offered a retraction.
And that returns to my initial point of it being that additional self-interest of that connection of the fact that the real shooter had posted about Tim's show.
Yes.
Right. And when you go to court, does him pulling down the photos, but then deploying this whole psyop story simultaneously, does that show more?
He didn't just post. Like, this was a journal dedicated to what he would eventually do.
Yes.
And like what went so wrong in his life, inceldom, basically.
Yeah,
right?
literally that. It was literally a diary.
That and Great Replacement Theory.
Yes.
Which
and he was Mexican.
Tim Poole pushes both. Yeah, he was a self-hating Mexican who wished he was white.
Yeah.
Now,
wild.
The thing is like, this wasn't just like he had friends online, like he was part of the Groyper community and posted about Tim's show.
Yeah, no, he was a loner.
Like, this was a specific episode platforming a specific thing with a time code in the screenshot to actually go look at the show itself.
Yeah.
It's different than just referencing that he's watched Tim's show.
Yes. And on top of that, this was after Tim had hosted a string of pretty much literal neo-Nazis.
Yeah, well, that's it was less about Tim Poole and more about fucking who he was platforming, which was Elijah Schaefer, I believe. And I think who's Groyper guy? What's his name? Fuentes. I'm pretty sure those were the two.
Yeah.
That he specifically and he then references back on that on a post that like came out later in like January before the shooting. Right? Months beforehand. But he references back on that.
Can always go back.
He like wrote specifically about how he's thought on that for months after he posted months back.
The whole thing's so fucking crazy. It's gonna be funny. I'm definitely.
We probably know more about it than anyone else at this point.
Yeah. We just didn't know what to do with the video because we recorded it too.
Yeah, it's just like it's like reading a lot of fucking like. It's just I don't know.
We didn't know what to do with
to
it.
make something with it.
Mm.
It was just
Have you still got it on your computer?
No. I deleted it from the StreamYard library because it was just sitting there.
Yeah. Oh well.
It was like a 2-hour video of us just going through and like reading all his stuff and making fun of him. And like us fucking around with other people who had found the site going, wow, nothing of value was lost. This guy's a loser. And like everyone in the comments that go to this guy's like blog is just telling him what a fucking loser he is. My favorite one is when he writes, I felt like such a stud muffin. That was probably the funniest thing that I read.
We should put that on a t-shirt, sell it as merch.
It felt like such a stud muffin. It's like in quotes, and it's like just fucking some literal killer. So people look it up.
And is intent important to your case? Like, how much intent do you need to show in this instance, or is intent not part of the action?
Yeah, it's really not part of the analysis here, to tell you the truth. Because what you're dealing with is a private person, right? And if you're going to make serious accusations of criminal conduct against a private person, you have to use reasonable care.
If you have a higher duty than you would if the person was well known, for instance.
Exactly. If they were well known, if they were a public figure, right, then you would have to show an intent, an actual malice, a reckless disregard for the truth, which we think is obviously present here. But all you would have to show here is that they didn't act as a reasonably prudent media organization could. And you know that's obviously true, because if you had followed what a reasonable media organization does, you would have never printed these photos. That would have never happened. And so in this case, it is interesting that in a lot of cases, when someone just deletes
fake-ass photos of the fucking royal bitch, whatever, Kate Middleton.
Yeah.
The article and then makes no acknowledgement of it and just tries to quietly get away from it. That looks bad. That looks really bad in a case. But if you do that and then also try to debunk and attack the mainstream corrections that are coming your way, boy, I don't think a jury's going to like that.
And does that intent, I mean, if you could show that intent to that level of sort of like backfilling and attempting to protect, is that become more of an issue of damages and and restitution than it does in terms of liability in the first place? So I just want people to understand there's liability and then damages, right? I mean,
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And one of the things you'd normally be facing as a challenge is that if you wanted punitive damages in a case like this, you would have to prove some extreme reckless disregard, right? But in this case, because none of these defendants complied with the retraction statute and because they did not issue apologies, in this case, you can recover punitive damages without a showing of actual malice.
So that's a prima facie, essentially, show that they're acting in that manner. And so, wow.
Yeah, if these guys negligently did this, this jury can award punitive damages if it thinks that's proper. And I think certainly this is the kind of case that screams for it.
I mean, where are you in this case? I mean, I guess you just filed it. So the process goes, at this point, a couple of defendants are going to come and go like, maybe we can make a deal. Right? I mean, I would imagine, who knows? I would imagine a lot of these guys are going to run and say like, I'm willing to make a deal, or at least their insurance companies are.
Well, you got to understand some of these people might not be insured. And some of them may not have insurance policies that cover intentional defamation. Right? So you get some issues there.
Who would issue an insurance policy for intentional defamation?
Exactly.
To them.
Yes, exactly.
And does Elon Musk responding to this and calling it a psyop just for within this case amplify your client's I guess case here because of his stature?
Absolutely. So when you have these right-wing outlets who are kind of creating this buzz in the right-wing media, which is not just Tim Pool, but also people like Crowder and Schroyer and Simon Ateba, when these things start bubbling in that right-wing ecosphere, that's where Elon Musk spends most of his time. And so when he starts promoting that to the world, these very messages that were generated by these defendants are getting to far more voices and far more ears than they would before. And so even though in this case, you don't have Elon Musk doing anything to my client, but because he was following along this narrative that was being born on Timcast, that this was all a psyop, this really does hurt my client's ability to make himself whole again.
Yeah, so theoretically, if Elon Musk were to have amplified a claim by someone like Tim Pool calling someone basically a pedophile, and Elon Musk were to have responded to that, that would have, also kind of fall under that standard as well.
Absolutely. I can't imagine who we're talking about, but yeah that's...
Would let's just hypothetically say like one of us or either of us be considered public figures? I mean, if we're on YouTube, I guess we are. But you would have to know that what you were saying was not based in truth, right? You would
people frame it that way, that it requires like a knowledge of falsity, but what it really requires is just a reckless disregard for the truth.
So if you have no evidence whatsoever for that claim,
and if you have a claim that's just inherently improbable, you know that it's probably dubious. You know you should look into it. Those sorts of things make malice as well. So some people describe malice as the kiss of death in defamation suits, that if you have a public figure, you're never going to win. I just don't believe that's true. And partially that's because the nature of defamation in the last 10 years has gotten so much more malicious than it ever has been in our culture.
Interesting. Well, maybe you should find a lawyer, but we can talk about that another time. So give us a sense of like the timeline here. When this was released 2 weeks ago, and
it was filed 2 weeks ago.
Filed 2 weeks ago, and so when it's filed, I would imagine at that moment on that day, the defendants are notified. Is that right?
No, not. So when they're filed, some of your more sophisticated defendants will pay docket monitoring services to know that they were sued, right? So Fox, for instance, is going to probably know on the day it was sued. But these other defendants have to wait until citation comes back and then service of process happens. And so it was this week that most of these defendants had a service processor, show up at their doors.
I mean, let's say I wanted to get a sense of like when, I mean, is it public knowledge as to when these people were serviced?
It is now. I'm telling you right now, it is. And yes, the majority of
just out of curiosity, what day was it that, let's say,
it was supposed to be this week. It was Tuesday through Thursday of this week.
Tuesday through Thursday. Maybe we should go back and look at some shows and see how how sweaty people were. That would be very interesting to do.
We filed the suit a couple weeks ago. We've obviously we sent letters to the offending parties within 2 weeks of this happening back in May of last year. We've been involved in long periods of negotiation and long periods of making sure everything's set and ready to go for the suit. We filed the suit a couple weeks ago. We've accomplished service this week. We're announcing it today. When the defendants answer in 20 days from now, they'll have about 60 days to dismiss the suit. And we'll go through the same process we're going through in the Musk suit. We'll probably have some discovery, depositions of these folks, and then they'll try to dismiss the case. And then the court will say go forward or not. And then we'll march forward into discovery and try to get a trial date.
All right, so Bradley, get the calendar out. By the end of April, they've got to respond, and then they have 60 days to file like a motion, a summary motion to dismiss based upon whatever their theory is. And then you move into discovery and whatnot. Do you have any type of program or internship that I could apply for so that I could be there for discovery?
Most of the world
need an intern.
Luckily, I got enough of those at the moment. Most of the world knows by now that I have very strong feelings about transparency in litigation, and that I believe that more public attention to the court process and what's happening is good for the justice system. And therefore, anything that's a public record in my cases, I not only direct the media to where it's at, but I encourage them to report on it. And in this case, you better be sure that we're taking these depositions and doing this discovery. We will fight as hard as we can to make sure that the public interest is met and that these people can see what is happening in this case. Look, there may be some trade secrets or something like that. They get sealed up from here and there. Or then again, you may have it like a situation like Alex Jones and Elon Musk, where the lawyers fail to get a protective order and it just all automatically becomes public. But I can tell you that one way or another, the information that's critical for the public to know, to understand how this defamation happens, we're going to.
That was so funny because Alex Jones' lawyer fucked up on that.
Yeah. All right. There's 3 minutes left. Do we want to run it out or what?
All I want to do real quick at the end here is a stream test.
Okay.
This might be a new meta to close the show,
The UK national anthem, everybody.
Yes. So let me launch this, and then when it launches, I want to see how. The show's over. I just want to see. You pull up a monitor on YouTube. I want to see how badly it lags through StreamYard's bandwidth. I'm running on low graphic settings as well, so hopefully it'll be okay.
Oh, it produced an overwhelming sense of impending doom.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?